Yep.
Oi, oi, and welcome to the Dritz Dresden channel. I'm Ski Nerd, that's Derv Derp, and we are here to review Terrifier 3. 3. There are trees in the movie, but we'll get to that in a second. But first, Derv Derp has something to say.
Since this movie just came out 4 days ago, this is a spoiler video. We're gonna just go through and say our overall rating, and then we'll get into the spoiler territory. I'd rate it a good 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it was 4 out of 5 for me.
It was a lot better than the first two, just a lot. It's like the second one where a lot happened, but it used its time a little better than the second one did.
Yeah, it was a lot smoother, and the story was better. It was in a line, basically. It made sense, and it didn't slow down at certain points. It didn't add any unnecessary characters. All the characters were used in a unique way. As opposed to the second one where they had like a couple friends, it was just like, why are you here? They could have got rid of some of the friends.
Like, why is Art the Killer killing random people?
Yeah, it made more sense into why he's doing what he's doing. It kind of enhances the story of the second one with
Sienna.
What's her name?
Sienna.
What is it?
Sienna. Yep.
Sienna. And her angelic costume. It also goes into the backstory of her dad. They didn't even show the dad in the second one. They just mentioned him. And it was cool to see her as a kid requesting, oh, you need to have a female character. And he's like, okay, I'll make one, blah, blah, blah. And he makes that character with the sword that can defeat anything or whatever. In this one, it felt like Art actually had a motivation for what he was doing. In the second one, it just felt like, okay, why are you attacking random people? In the first one, it made sense. It was like, oh, these people pissed him off.
The second one also, at least one or two of the people he kills in the second one pissed him off too, like the store clerk. But not all. Like, a lot of the kills in the second one was like, why is he killing her friends for no reason? Because especially the Allie, the one that's killed in the bedroom scene, she showed she didn't even have any scenes with Art before that.
Yeah, there was no really any reason to kill her.
Same thing with her other friend too, other than they were with Sienna at the time.
It was just killing for killing's sake, and it was just like, okay, it didn't make as much sense. But the third movie, it clears it up on their motivations. But let's before we get into the story, we can discuss more about the story. Let's get into the scenes, because there was a lot of art scenes, and they were definitely artistic. Because remember, he is a body artist. All right, so the opening scene, we actually, when we got to the theater, we were warned about this scene. They're like, "Oh, it's really bad."
Which it really, in my opinion, it wasn't really as bad as it could have been. Like you said, as bad as he said it was. But
Yeah.
that's because they cut it so they could maintain the not rated rating, not make it NC-17.
Yeah. I can see what they were trying to do to make it NC-17. But yeah, he spoiled it for us. He's like, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be a kid that gets killed at the beginning," and I was just like, "What?" And that was actually more scary, him saying that, than the actual movie. And I was just like, "Man, I don't want to see a kid get killed." No wonder there was like um, some 16-year-old kid went in there, saw the movie, and told her parents. So we both got carded at the door to watch this movie.
Well,
And it was only like 4 people in the theater, so.
for me, it was normal because I'm a theater employee, and we're going to a different theater than what I work at. So that was normal for me because they always card me to make sure
Yeah,
I'm who I say I am.
he said he was carding everyone,
Yeah.
so.
I was like, I had my ID ready.
Yep, you did. And we were able to make it into the theater, barely. I think as you said also too, there wasn't a whole lot of people, so it wasn't as, the atmosphere wasn't as good. We were like the only ones making noise, and we were like laughing the whole time.
I heard one of the guys behind us laugh a few times, but.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. But anyways, let's get into the opening scene. So opening scene, it's Christmas time. It's a few days before Christmas, and this little girl, she hears a noise on the roof, and I think it's Santa Claus. I think it's Santa Claus, Mommy. So she wakes up her parents. Santa Claus is on the roof, and they're like, we don't hear anything. So the mom has to take care of it. Make some milk and cookies, to tell her daughter, yeah, we'll just leave milk and cookies for the elves who are scouting the area. And milk and cookies are made, and the parents go to bed, and Mr. Art comes into the house. We don't know how he comes into the house. It's probably through a window or something.
Chimney, probably.
What's that?
Chimney.
Probably. Anyway, so he's there, and this little girl sees Santa. It's like, oh my God, it's Santa Claus! Oh my God! And he hears the little girl behind him. He doesn't really turn around though, but she goes and hides, and she's slowly following him. And he, nonchalant with an axe, just walks upstairs, walks into her brother's room, who's a couple years older. Maybe he's 8 or 9, maybe 10. And chops him up, which is supposed to be the crazy scene, because here in America, you're not allowed to kill kids. So whenever I play a video game and there's a bunch of children, it's some guy's we gotta kill whatever's in front of us. They're a bunch of kids. I'm like, yeah, they're not gonna die because you can't kill kids. But in this one, he just implies it that he killed them. Yeah. You don't actually see what happens.
You just hear the little kid saying his sister's name and
it's don't bother me,
yelling
sister.
at her. And then you just hear the axe chop in and very juicy sounds.
Yeah. And then he goes in the parents' room and starts chopping up the husband who's sleeping. And then the mom is like, honey, what are you doing? Sees the blood and just starts screaming, runs downstairs. And Art axes her in the back, and she tries to run towards the Christmas tree, and she chops her arm off, which is pretty great. So that whole scene happened, and it wasn't as terrifying as people were saying.
And also the whole time he's doing his usual, after he swipe after the mom notices, he points at the mom and just laughs.
Yeah. Chaotic evil. So that scene was fun.
And
Then
then,
it cuts. The scene ends with the little girl in the closet,
yeah,
and it's implied that he's gonna kill the little girl. And
cabinet,
so it's
not
like, oh,
closet.
5 years earlier. What's
She's
that?
in the cabinet, in the kitchen closet. Like the.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's implied. It. Or. This was the supposedly bad scene that would have made it NC-17, but. And supposedly people have been walking out of. To me, it wasn't that bad because it didn't really show anything.
Yeah. And with this scene, I was confused because it said 5 years earlier, and I thought like it would go back to that scene towards the end of the movie, but it like never did for whatever reason. So that it must have been like a different house than the one that we're introduced to.
Yep.
So I was kind of confused because I thought it was the same mom. They kind of looked the same, but I was dead wrong. Anyways, so we have the next scene that's crazy is we go to the psych ward where we see that wrestler guy. What's his name? Jericho?
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho. And it's like right after the second movie happens. Oh yeah, we'll do this one first. It's okay. He hears at the end of the second movie, you hear a scream. The woman comes to check on the
Victoria.
lady that's in there.
Victoria.
Messed fucking face. Yeah, Victoria. That's what his name is. And Chris Jericho comes running, and we see Art's head eating the psych ward lady's face, and there's an esophagus that's leading into Veronica's mouth. And Chris Jericho comes in, and he's just like, "Oh, what's going on here? We have a code 5. Oh my God, security, get over here!" And the Veronica is like, "Oh, help me, please help me. He made me do it." And she just starts laughing at him, and and he freaks out, and he runs out of the room, and he looks over to his right, and he sees Art's body that's walking towards them without a head. And then Victoria attacks him, and he's like dying with Victoria and Art's body attacking him. And he's like, "Oh my God!" They basically just grab his face and just like rip his skull in half. And that's pretty much what happens. So that was cool.
That was Chris Jericho's rise to fame in horror movies.
Yeah. We thought we were going to get more Chris Jericho, but no Chris Jericho. Or a little Chris Jericho. But the scene we forgot to mention is the policeman scene. So it cuts to 5 years earlier, right at the scene of the crime where Art's body his head is chopped off. So you just see the body. So this policeman comes and examines this body, and he's like, "Oh, I got a decapitated head over here. All right, I'm going to keep looking."
Decapitated body. Because the head was nowhere to be found.
What did I say?
You said decapitated head.
Oh, whatever. Headless body. And, he starts searching, and he looks back, and then the body's magically gone. He's like, "What the hell?" And he gets attacked. And the next scene, we see him on a train with the police officer's head on his head in, so I guess the body can see then. I don't know. It was kind of funny. Some lady was on the train looking at him like, "Oh, okay, that's creepy."
Hello, MG Jesus, saying, hope you're having a good day. I'm having a little bit of internet problems. Hopefully there's a good enough sound. Because we're recording from my computer, from my phone.
Hi. Anyways, you're gonna have a great time listening to our review. So we got so that scene happened, and then the next scene was Art and Victoria's resurrection. So they're in a house, and they kind of come home, or after the psych ward scene, they're together. They're on a train, and they see they're all like bloody and covered in blood, and Victoria has her like weird face with the one eye thing, and they're just chillax on the train, and this guy in a costume, in a art costume, he comes in. He's like, "Oh man, I love your costume, guys. Can I get a picture?" Takes a picture of them, and Art and Veronica just look at each other like, they just shrug, and then in the next scene, Art has a new clean costume, implying that he just killed him off screen. And so they go back to their house, and Veronica is just like keeps yelling at stuff randomly, and she's like, "Oh, I used to be so hot, used to be so beautiful," and she's just like yelling at this mirror, and she hits her head. Art's like in the corner. It looks like he's annoyed by her like screaming and stuff. But she hits her head, finds a piece of
breaks
mirror.
The mirror.
She breaks the mirror,
it.
It's a piece of mirror that's like a knife. So she goes in this tub filled with blood, and she's like, and she just cuts her arm from the wrist down, and she just fills the pool with blood. And Art smiles. He's just like, "Yay!" And he finds a comfy chair, and
rocking chair.
Rocking chair. They're just there. He's on the upper floor. She's on the basement. And 5 years go by, and these demolition guys are gonna destroy this. They're scouting to demolish this house, right?
Yep.
And so one guy goes upstairs, one guy goes downstairs, and the guy downstairs sees Victoria in the tub, and like she hasn't moved for like 5 years. Like all the blood is like crusted over. There's dust everywhere, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he's calling to the guy upstairs, "Hey, other guy, come down here." And the guy upstairs sees Art in his rocking chair and is covered in cobwebs. So it looks like it's a doll or something, and it's not real because nothing can, stay still for X amount of time like that, except for Art.
One of these guys named is Dennis, and the other, I believe, was Eddie.
Oh yeah, these irrelevant guys, because as we both know, they're about to be dead. So Art, he looks at Art and he's like, "Oh, are you real?" And Art just opens his eyes and smiles, and starts attacking the guy, and he's dying. Meanwhile, downstairs, Veronica
Victoria
slowly moves her arm up as the guy is like examining her and freaking out, and she takes her shard of mirror and stabs him in the neck. So now he's dead and bleeding out. She walks upstairs and helps Art kill the guy upstairs, and Art just like pins him down, like face down. And this is like a really, really weird scene. She thinks it's hot.
Yeah.
What's happening? And so she takes her mirror blade and sticks it up her hoo-ha area and starts, masturbating with it, basically. And there's like just like blood everywhere. She's just like cutting herself and thinking it's so hot. And he scalps the guy. He rips his like scalp in half, and you can see his brain and stuff, or not his brain, his skull. And it's just like, as he's like beating this guy and killing him, she's just getting off on it, and it's just like, what the fuck is happening? What the hell? Stop it.
It's kind of like with the little pale girl in the second one who just randomly started shitting all over the place in the laundromat.
Yeah, it was fun, I guess. Just taking a dump. But that was like a weird delusion he saw at first. I think over time it came manifest to the main characters. But anyways, that's the second one. Let's talk about the third one. So that scene happened with the demolition guys, and so now Art and Veronica are out and about.
Victoria.
They can do whatever they want.
I've been trying to correct you every single time you say Veronica, but her name's Victoria.
Oh. Sorry, Victoria.
We'll
start with a V.
You just kept ignoring me. Just kept going on.
I'm trying. I swear I am. Hold on, let me write it down. Victoria. There we go, Victoria. Oh, that pen smells. Oh no, Aaron Rodgers, no. Alright, so what's happening? Victoria. Oh, right. So now they're out and about, they can do whatever they want. Right, so the next art scene, what?
Yeah, we're just doing art scene, sorry. I forgot.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do the story later. The next awesome scene was the Santa scene. Yay! So there's a guy dressed up as Santa. He has the Santa beard and all that stuff. He's in a bar with his friend and then the bartender, and they're all having a good time. They're all just like laughing. They're like, "Oh my god!" And actually, the Santa is being groped by two women, and Santa's loving this. And his friend is like, "It's like, hey, I have a chimney. You know, I can be in a sleigh. I got a beard. You know, all this stuff." They're all over Santa instead. It's pretty funny. So
Smokey and I don't know the other character, but Smokey was the one with the beard.
It doesn't really matter. He was the dealer in Vegas Vacation. He was really good, really funny. I don't know who the bartender was though. But anyways, so they come in and Art sees them and he has the most adorable reaction. He's just like, "Oh my god, it's Santa!" But in his mute way, he's like, "Oh my god, it's Santa! Oh my god, it's Santa!" And you know, Santa's like very pleased, and the bartender's annoyed by this. But Santa's just like, "Oh my god, come over here, boy! Yeah, come on, sit on my lap." And he's just like, "Yeah, absolutely." And Art tugs on his beard to check if it's real. But he's just like so happy to see Santa. It's worth the watch. It's worth going to see the movie just for this scene, basically. See how excited he is. He's a little kid.
Just imagine Will Ferrell's Buddy the Elf with that whole Santa scene, but with a mute clown.
Yeah, it's great. And let's see. So they're like, "Hey, let me buy you a round of drinks." Awesome. So they're all about to take a shot, and Art puts it in his mouth and he spits it in Santa's face, and Art is laughing his ass off at this. Santa's all pissed. His friend's all pissed. The bartender's all pissed. They're like, "What the hell are you doing? Oh, get out of here!" They're about to like kick him out, right? And we forgot the "what's in the bag" thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, "What's in the bag?" And he pulls out a horn. The horn that he got from the dead guy.
And he also.
Oh, that's so funny.
And he also pulled out one of the exterminator's wallets to use as an ID.
Oh, that's right. He's like, "I need to see your ID." It's like, come on. And the Santa's like, "Come on, man. He's old enough." So, like, what was his name? It was like Maurice Johnson or something?
I
can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it was just like, "Oh, wow, you're Maurice Johnson. Oh, that's awesome. You have a name. Oh, cool." So he's able to, get a beer, and after the you know, spitting in his face. Santa gets all mad, and he's just like, "What do you do that for?" You know, Art's laughing his butt off, and they're all kind of annoyed by this. And then Santa's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about that. That was kind of funny actually. Haha, you're a funny guy." And then Art starts pissing on Santa. He pisses on him real good. Oh shit, he caught that. And
live updates for our town's baseball. Your live baseball updates brought to you by us, apparently.
Baseball updates?
Weren't you playing baseball or watching baseball?
No, football.
No, he's playing the
Wow.
Mike or Skeeter playing video games? That I'd love to see.
No, it's actual football. It's Monday Night Football.
I heard your brother say Helldivers.
Oh. I didn't hear that at all. But he probably did say that, yeah. Anyways, back to the review. So we have the Santa scene. Oh, we're not done with the Santa scene.
Nope.
So everybody's pissed, and the bartender is like literally kicking him out. He's like forcing him against the wall. He's like, "You get the fuck out of here!" And they're carrying his bag. They're like, "What's in this bag?" Like, just throwing it towards the door, and saying, "You need to get the hell out of here." Like, that kind of behavior is inappropriate. You're an idiot. Just leave. And so naturally, Art pulls out a gun and starts shooting people. He shoots the bartender, and then he shoots the other guy, and it's just Santa that's left. And he's just like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I didn't mean it. I'm just a regular like Santa. Like, hey, do you want my hat? You can have my hat here." And he's just like taking off his like costume, basically. You want the costume? Here's the costume or whatever. And Art gets his costume off, and he dives into a chair, and he pulls out his ice extinguisher, which is a scene that happens earlier that we learn about this weapon that he wants to use. But we'll explain that after this scene. So Santa's basically begging for his life here. Like, he has no hope. He's like, "Hey, I'm married. I got 2 kids.
4 grandchildren. Yep.
My name is Ricky Johnson or something, and please don't do this." And Art doesn't care. He's just like, teasing him with the weapon. What is this stuff called? I always want to call it nitroglycerin, but it's not nitroglycerin.
I'm trying to look it up.
It's the ice stuff. It starts with an N, I think. It makes
nitroglyceride.
Nitroglyceride?
I don't know. I'm trying to look it up, but we were trying to find this earlier.
Yeah, nitro is the explosive stuff.
We were trying to find this with a different show before. I think with GTO.
Yeah, I know.
Or no, it was The Boys. It was The Boys.
Oh, that's fine. Alright, so Santa's begging for his life, and he does the ice extinguisher on Santa's both of his legs and both of his arms, and he's like, no, please don't. And he takes I think it was it a bat or a hammer? It was a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it was the sledgehammer.
A sledgehammer to his extremities, and they're basically exploding. They're just frozen over, and he's like he's like beating into them, and now he doesn't. But what doesn't make any sense is that like if your body gets attacked by that stuff, wouldn't you not feel it? I was thinking like, how can you feel that if it's frozen, kind of thing? But I guess I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was still new and or it wasn't completely frozen.
I think it wasn't necessarily him feeling it, just him seeing it being done to himself.
Oh, well, that makes sense. But then he finishes him off. You know, he gets his head and he bashes his skull in, and that's his art. Oh, and then he rips his face off while he's still alive, and he can see with one eye still. And he looks over and sees a snowman, rips the carrot out of the snowman's nose, and places the carrot in the Santa. And he's looking at it. He's like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like his face expressions, like he's making art. It's like, yes, we know. Anyways, that was the Santa scene. But now we're gonna do the rat scene. So, Victoria is obsessed with rats. So in the basement, he has his work area, and when they go down there, after the demolition guys, they, what the hell was that? He starts making a weapon. He starts making this, ice extinguisher, and he sees a rat, and he looks at it. He's like, yeah, let's test it on this rat. And he blasts the rat with the stuff, and it freezes. It can't move at all. And he picks it up by the tail. He's looking at it. He's like, oh, he's like poking it, kind of seeing what happens. And then he bashes it with the hammer, and like it basically it shatters. And he's like, oh, okay, I like this weapon. And so he uses that weapon on Santa. So that's fun. Ooh, then we have the mall scene.
Liquid nitrogen, that's what he uses.
Liquid nitrogen. It's the N. It's the nitrogen part. Liquid nitrogen, folks.
I finally found it after looking for a while.
Yeah. After we're done explaining everything, liquid nitrogen. Let me write that down.
Not my fault that it's very hard to find, especially if you don't know what you're exactly trying to look for.
Yep. Hot ice. You heat up the ice cubes. Oh, that smells so bad. So next, is the fun mall scene. All right, so this is the cream of the crop of scenes, guys. This is where Art lives out his dream of being a mall Santa. So during one of the actual mall Santa's breaks, Art comes in and he sees the line, and he sits on the chair, and he calls over a little girl, and he hands her a present. Which is so nice of him. What a gentleman. What a nice guy. So he gives her a doll, and all the kids see that. Oh my God, Santa's handing out presents. So all the kids, there's about 10, 15 kids, they run over, and he's handing out, he got footballs, he got dolls, he got different, like a yo-yo, all these different toys he's handing out. These kids are loving it. They're like, yeah, this Santa's awesome. Woo, go Santa. And some of the other like quote unquote elves that went on break with Santa, the elves come back, and he's like, let's talk to the security guard. Like, hey, that Santa's kind of creepy. Why is he like? Can you do something about it? Talking to the security guard. He's like, oh, isn't that your Santa? He's like, no, that's not our Santa. That's a different Santa. That's not Phil or whatever his name was. So the security guard starts walking over to, Art, and he's like, hey, you're not the regular security guard. You can get out of here. So he starts pushing him out of the way.
I mean regular
And-
Santa? Because you said regular security guard.
Oh, yeah, security guard and
The security
Also,
guard
one
went
Santa
to
came
him and
back
said,
too.
"You aren't the regular Santa."
yeah, well, whatever. The security guard, kicks him out. He's like, "Hey, you need to get out of here. You're not the right Santa. So get out." So he kicks him out, and one of the little kids opens up a box, and the mom's like, "Hey, Jimmy, where's my Jimmy?" And all the parents are kind of freaking out, and he opens the box, and there's just an explosion. Just an explosion.
But
And
you see a bunch of entrails and
you don't see anything.
you see intestines.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, and some body parts.
Oh, I didn't remember that. That's good to know. Anyways,
That's why
So
I'm
that
here.
happens.
I noticed more of the finer detail than you.
that's fine. That's good. Sometimes we need that, right?
Yep.
So that happens. There's just an explosion with the kids and parents around. Actually, later we find out this is during like the story, whatever. This guy, the dad is watching TV and he's,
Or
the explosion, and it was like 5 people dead and like 15 injured or something like that.
it's
Condition.
Sienna's uncle.
Yeah, the uncle. That's right.
Because you said dad. Your dad's been dead since before the second movie.
Yeah, when I said dad, I meant I couldn't think of the little girl's name. The little
Gabby.
Gabby's dad. That's who it was. Let's see here. So yeah, that was the mall scene. Ooh, and then we have this is like a smaller scene. It connects to the shower scene, but we have the dorm scene. So in the story, there's this girl who's obsessed with the
Miles County clown.
Yeah, those murders and stuff. And so at this college, Sienna's
brother Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan. He's at the college, and she's, begging him to be on her podcast or whatever. And so she's trying to talk to her boyfriend because her boyfriend is roommates with Jonathan, and I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why they're together, is because she wants access. But anyway, she wants access, and she's talking about how she wants to know what it's like for to be chased by something evil like Art the Clown, and she wants to look into his eyes to see if he has a soul or not. And as she's saying this, Art is in the dorm looking for Jonathan.
No, that's later, because she's saying that when Jonathan's there, but when she overhears her, it's later. Like during the whole when the party's going on.
Yeah, so this is the dorm scene.
Yeah, but you had no transition to that happened later in the day.
Yeah, we're not doing the story yet, remember?
Yeah, but you're talking about, but there you said nothing about, like, because you mentioned her whole podcast, but there's it's different times of the day. That's what I was trying to get at. Or it's different day altogether.
Yeah, well, remember we're not going chronologically here. We're just going scene by scene.
Yeah, but I was just you just had no transition. That's what I'm getting at.
Because you got yeah. Anyways, let's just move on. So in the storm scene, Art overhears her saying she wants to look into the eyes of a killer or whatever, and he's making, reaction. She's like, oh, he's like the best serial killer, and he's just like, yeah, and she's like, oh, yeah, I just want to look into his eyes, and he's like, and the boyfriend is like, are you gonna have sex with him? And she's like, no, and Art goes, oh darn, in his own way. But anyway, so that leads to the shower scene where the podcast girl and the boyfriend are in the shower, getting it on. Yeah, whatever her name is, and it doesn't really matter at this point. I mean, she's gonna die.
But we usually say the character names anyways.
Runs in the shower while they're doing it, and he has a chainsaw, and he's looking at them. He starts with the chainsaw and starts killing. He does some killing. Attacks the boyfriend first, and this girl is scared out of her mind, and then he attacks her through the stomach and across the face, which is pretty fun. Do you have anything to add at this point?
He also attacks, cutting off parts of his hand, and then after killing the girl, he basically rapes the boyfriend with the chainsaw, sticking it up his ass.
Yep. Front side and back side. From the lower torso, let's say. Having fun with that, cutting him in half. But what was more important, and I think that actually story-wise, this is one of the best scenes when this girl who's now being attacked by the literal serial killer that she's so fascinated by, like, her face is torn in half, but she's still alive, and Art has like sunglasses on, and he takes them off, looks into her eyes for like 10 seconds, smiles, and puts the sunglasses on her before finishing her off. Like, you wanted to look into my eyes? I will grant you that wish. Absolutely. And look into her eyes. I don't know if she was scared or not, because she doesn't have any other facial expressions. It's just her eyes. Her beautiful blue eyes.
Makes you think if she would have said, yes, I will fuck him, if he would have granted her that before killing her.
I think so. I think they would have done it, and then he would have, like, as they were doing it, he would have, like, slashed at her or something and killed her. But, yeah, so that was that scene. That was fun. And
I'm just gonna end the stream, but keep recording because it keeps going in and out.
Oh, okay. Anyways, so this is where we get to the final big scene. So now we're gonna focus on the story. So the story is Sienna has spent 5 years in psychotherapy and like in and out of hospitals because of the trauma of this attack that happened in the second one. Jonathan's still alive. He's now in. It's been 5 years, even though, like, in the second one they said he was 12, so I assume he was turning 13 that year, which meant that he was in 7th grade, and so 7 plus 5 meant he would have been in
a freshman in college.
But maybe he graduated early or something. I don't know. But he's his first year in college, so maybe it's 6 years later. Who knows? Oh man, my legs itch. Holy crap. So basically what happens is Sienna gets picked up by her uncle,
Greg.
and they're going home to celebrate Christmas. And I think it's in the same like area, county, or something like that. And there's a college there too. Do we know like what state this is in?
No.
Did it ever explain that? No. Okay. We just know the county. It's probably a made-up county. And so she's coming home, and this is like her first time, like out of being in there. So now she's celebrating with her uncle and her cousin and her aunt.
It's New York.
And it's New York?
Yep. At least the first one's in New York.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I guess they're in New York. All right, cool. Anyways, let's see, where were we at? Oh, she's coming home, and she's super excited to see her cousin. And
yeah, all of them are in New York.
Okay, they come home, and it's like, oh, hey, good to see you, awesome. And the two girls run upstairs, and the little girl, Gabby, that's the only name I remember, but it's Gabby. What the heck is he doing? Anyways, Gabby, sorry. I got the TV on. It's really distracting. Hold on. Game's over. Don't need it anymore. There we go. No, I'm not distracted. Or maybe I am. So Gabby, they go upstairs, and Gabby starts reading Sienna's journal, and Sienna says, "Hey, no, that's for my eyes only. You cannot read that." And Gabby is fascinated by like her cousin, like, "Oh, you got." She's like fascinated by Sienna's scars on her cheek that she got. She's like, "Oh, you got scars," and they're sitting at dinner, and she wants to know more and more about what happened. And the parents are like, "No, you don't talk about that. Like, that's super rude." She's struggling with that. And Gabby just doesn't understand because she wasn't in this traumatic incident. And meanwhile, as she's hanging out and stuff, she calls her brother Jonathan. It's like, "Hey, are you coming to celebrate Christmas with us?" And he's like, "No, I can't. I got a party to go to," kind of thing. And Sienna gets upset, and she's like, "I thought we were supposed to stick together. Come on, let's go. Let's do this." And as she's like eating dinner, she sees a hallucination of her friend that was in the car at the very end. I don't remember her name, but she was the crap friend, Brooke. And she's like, "Yes, the reason I'm dead is because of you." And she's like, "Pass the rice." They're eating Chinese. "Pass the rice. Pass the rice." And she starts staring at nothing, basically, according to everyone else. And she excuses herself from the table and goes and takes her medication. She's freaking out. And Gabby's still like fascinated by her. And then later they go out Christmas shopping at the mall that is now infamous. And they're going Christmas shopping for different things. They're like, "Hey, what's normal? What's not? What do different people like? Blah blah blah." And while she's shopping, she sees Art in his Santa outfit, and she starts like freaking out, and she's like, "Oh crap, I think Art is here. I'm starting to see him again." So when she gets home, she takes more pills to try to help, but it doesn't really help. Well, just for a little bit. But then she goes to the college, and anyway, there's a scene with Jonathan and his roommate's girlfriend, which is the podcast girl who was infamous for her shower. and yes, whatever her name is, and because I'm so accurate on names.
Yeah, but we've always kept it as like a thing that we do, even if they're kind of inconsequential. We still give them their due and say their names. At least I do.
Yeah, well, half of us is doing the work.
Because I have the page up as we're reviewing.
Good, I'm glad. All right, so where were we? So this girl is fascinated by the art clown murders, and so she's like nagging Jonathan, like, hey, can you be on my podcast? Oh my God, I'm such a huge fan, and she's fangirling all over him, and he's like, no, I don't really want to do that, and she's like, dang, and she's like talking to the boyfriend, like, dang, how do I get him on my podcast? I need to get him on my podcast. And her podcast is like a true crime podcast, and I guess she's had it for like years and years, and she's been fascinated by this murder for I guess 5 years now. Oh, excuse me. And so later, uh, Sienna comes to the college where Jonathan is to visit him and talk to him. Runs into, and they're having lunch, and they run into this podcast girl who sits down with them. She's like, "Oh my God, you're Sienna! Oh my God, I'm such a huge fan!" And she starts asking questions like, "How do you, like, what how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this?" And like on her, on her podcast, she's saying, "Oh, she probably did it, but if it wasn't for her brother, she'd probably be in jail for the rest of her life." And uh, there was no body of any clown or anything, so she probably did it, blah blah blah, saying all this stuff, and she finally is talking to Sienna, saying, "Hey, how do you cope? Like, how do you cope with all this stuff?" And Sienna just being frustrated this whole time, ever since getting out, just goes off on her. She's just like, she's like, I got attacked. You have no idea what it's like to be attacked, and it's super dickish of you to be asking me how I feel when I have PTSD and you don't, and you have know nothing about this. You need to like fuck off. And so she just storms off, and Jonathan comes to console her, and of course, the podcast girl, she's like, "Oh my God, it wasn't my fault. It was all her fault. What's wrong with her? Oh my God." Yeah, she's dumb. So Jonathan comes to console Sienna and says, "Hey, that was not nice. Like, why did you do that?" And she's like, "I've been seeing him." Like, she's frustrated because she's been seeing him. She saw him at the mall, and she saw like her dead friend again, and she's like, I think he's back, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know about that," and she's asking him, "Hey, come have Christmas dinner with us," and he's like, "No, I can't. I'm going to this party." Like, reiterates, "I'm going to this party. I'm not gonna go with you." And she brings out a letter that he wrote to her, kind of explaining like who the little girl was and what they need to do to try to defeat Art and get rid of it, giving her information on demonic possession and how to stop it. And as soon as Sienna leaves, she's like, "All right, I know you want to go to your party, but I'm going to be at this house, so go enjoy your party, and we'll meet up later." And Jonathan starts freaking out, and he doesn't want to be. He starts taking his own pills, doesn't want to be around Sienna, and he's like, "Oh man, it's starting again." He says it too. It's starting again. About being around like Sienna, he doesn't want to really be around her. I guess all the bad publicity and stuff. But we learn later that what is it that happens? So Sienna goes home, and she realizes after seeing the news on the TV, she starts really freaking out, and she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, he's back! Oh my God, that's back! That's him! That's him!" Because they were like describing like a Santa that was there that was like really weird and guts everywhere in an explosion, and she knows that's him. So she asks her uncle to go grab Jonathan from the dorms, and because he's in danger, and knows that Art is back wandering looking for them. And we forgot the really important scene of young Sienna with her dad, which is a really good scene. I think we talked a little bit about it. So we talked about before that how young Sienna was complaining that her dad wasn't making any female characters, and he comes back and X amount of time later and says, "Oh, I made a new character for you, and she's a warrior angel, and she has a sword that can defeat anything." And he has the picture. He's holding up the piece of paper to her, and she's like, "Here, take it." And she touches it, and something happens. Like, the paper starts to shake. Neither of them can let go of the piece of paper, and the dad is starting to have like visions. We know for that from the second movie that he was having visions or whatever, and he was just like getting flashes of like what's going to happen, of events that happen in the second movie, about the fight and her wearing the costume and the sword and stuff like that. And that something is happening with this drawing and the symbol of this warrior angel, of being basically a threat to Art the Clown. And it's like, I guess, summoning him for whatever reason. But we don't really know what's going on. That's just what's happening, and it fills some gaps with the second movie, which is really nice. And so that was happening, and so let's go back to Sienna freaking out. So she's freaking out. Hey, bring Jonathan here. I don't want him to go to the party. There's a scene where Art goes to some frat house, and he has his bag, right? And he's like letting these frat boys in with kegs. They're like, "Oh, thanks, man. So he goes into the frat party, but we don't see what happens at the frat party because I don't think anything happens. And then Art goes to the dorm, and it's like clear, oh crap, he's looking for Jonathan. And so Sienna begs her uncle to go grab Jonathan and he agrees because she's freaking out. And so the dad arrives at the dorm, and he's like, "Hey, I'm outside the dorm." And Jonathan replies, "Oh, I don't see you." He's like, "Well, I'm in the place where you wanted me to be." And then we hear, "Okay, yeah, I'll be right there," with a weird like tinge at the end, which is very ominous. So someone's in danger. And I think this is where I went to go to the bathroom.
There is one part you neglected to mention when Sienna goes back to the Terrifier to get the sword. It's just mentioned.
Okay, but we don't see her go back.
But
right?
she tells Jonathan she's gonna go, and then like a couple scenes later, we see her come home with a big wrapped box.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, she's putting the gift by the tree.
Yep.
And Gabby's like, "Oh, is that present for me?" And she's like, she's like, "No." He's like, "Oh, can I see it?" No, that's a gift. Like, stay away from the gift. And there's also a scene where they're having breakfast, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want? Do you want cereal?" And then Gabby's like, "Oh no, Sienna doesn't like cereal." And the dad's like, "Oh, you don't like cereal? That's weird, blah, blah, blah." And so Sienna is says to Gabby, "Hey Gabby, do you want to go play some board games upstairs?" And so they both go upstairs, and what do you? I got a lot of games. We want to do Pictionary. I got Monopoly. I got all this stuff. Pictionary, and Sienna then questions Gabby. She's like, "Hey Sienna, I never told you I don't like cereal. How did you know that?" And Gabby's just like, all the blood rushes out her face, like she's been caught. She's like, "Oh no." He's like, "Have you been reading my journal?" And she's like, "Well, I'm sorry, I just needed to know." Like she read her journal without her permission, and Sienna's mad at her, and so she reveals like she read the whole thing. She's like, "I just wanted to know what happened to you." She's like, "That's kind of a dick move, but we can play some like Pictionary, but you have to." They made a pinky swear not to like look at her stuff anymore, not to go through any stuff. And we also find out that Gabby is really good at finding presents, and what she does is she finds them, opens them, looks at them, and then repackages them. And then the parents are like, "Yeah, but she repackages them very badly," and they're all just like laughing, ha 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 ha. And so when she brings this present home, it's like, "Don't look at this present. This is a special present." And I think this is where I went to the bathroom, but basically, when I came back, it was Sienna and the mom and her aunt tied up in the living room. I think you could fill in the gap of how that happened, because I don't know.
Essentially, no, she's just at home, and then all of a sudden, Art appears and just starts chasing her around the house, and eventually knocks her out. I don't think there's anything really much more than that.
Yeah, I wasn't gone for very long. I was gone for like 3 minutes, so that's all I missed. But we come back after they're running around and stuff. We come back and there's Sienna and her aunt facing each other, tied up on chairs, and there's like a Christmas tree in the background, and with a head on it, and we see a gift in the middle. It looks like a bird cage in the middle with a cloth over it, and the Victoria is speaking to them like, "Oh, hey, you're here. This is great." And she's basically like, her and Art are basically torturing them, like teasing wise. They're torturing them teasing wise, saying like, "Oh, look, there's your husband's head on the at the top of the Christmas tree." And so we know he's dead, and kind of reveals like, "Oh, this is the time of year to spread off." Hold on. You can go ahead and speak. I got the clock.
So we have the tree. I'll just go into a few more details. It's not just the head. We see the body also to the side, kind of crucified. And the intestines wrapped around the tree.
Yeah, I didn't see the crucifixion.
No,
I missed that part, but I see him wrapping the intestines around the tree.
You just see the body, like, put up against the wall with its arms stretched out. That's all you see. You don't see him actually killing him or putting the body up. You just see that.
Oh. Okay. Cool. So they're facing each other, and the Victoria is just talking to them, like teasing them, like, oh, it's a time of year to give gifts. I got a gift for you. And she's like pointing to the bird cage in the middle. Oh, it's such a nice gift. Would you like to open it? And the mom is like, no, fuck you. Like, I don't want to do this. And they're, like kind of beating them. They're just like, you can't, they can't do anything. They're just like getting beat in these chairs. And Sienna gets a thorn of crowns put on her head. So now she's bleeding. And she's like, here, I got a gift for you. And she puts on the crown of thorns. She's like, oh my God. And her acting is actually really good. Sienna's acting is actually really good. She seems like genuinely scared. And this whole time, like, it's been building up, this scariness building up. And she's like, well, you defeated us before, but now you don't have anything. So she goes to the mom and it's like, oh, I got a gift for you. Do you want to see it? And she unveils it. And it's a skull with like still meat on it. And she says, it's your daughter Gabby. And the mom's like, no, oh my God, you killed her. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I got a gift for you. And then Art pulls out a plastic tube, and there's like rats like eating the skull. And you're like, oh fucking Christ, what the fuck was like? And you're still wondering like why are they after them? And the Victoria's slowly explaining stuff, but she's trying to kill the mother first. So this scene is she has the plastic tube, and they stuff the plastic tube down the mom's throat.
Not just stuff, they jam it.
Yeah, they jam it. They jam it in really good, and she's like screaming, she's like, ah, which is absolutely terrifying. And in a scene from Game of Thrones, if you will, Art has a torch, and he takes a rat, puts it, or if you see, not the Orville, 1984, the movie, takes a rat, puts it in the tube, and lights a flame on its tail. So now the rat has to go into the body. And for people who don't know, rats will always find a way out, even through flesh. They don't care. They will always find a way out. So the rat starts biting its way into this woman's throat, and then Art, of course, sends another rat in there for whatever reason, and the rats are everywhere, and the mom is just like slowly dying from the inside, and Victoria takes a knife and slits her throat, and the rats pop out, and they're totally fine. They're just covered in a little blood. And
which in my mind, that's probably one of the most brutal deaths.
Yeah, that was very, very brutal. You do not want to die like that, or in any ways that happen in any of the movies. But
just getting eaten from the inside.
Yeah. And then she looks at Sienna and says, "Oh, hey Sienna, I got another gift for you," and brings out Gabby. She's like, "See, it wasn't Gabby after all." And then what Art does next, he puts glasses on the skull and says, "Oh, look, here's Jonathan." Like, that was not Gabby's skull, that was Jonathan's skull. So we know that Jonathan is now dead. And she's like, "No." She's like, "I have taken everything from you, and now I will take you." And what she does next is try to possess, with Gabby still alive, of course, try to possess Sienna. And so you can see it in her eyes turn red and start going into Sienna, and Sienna's eyes start turning red. And this whole process is going through, and you can see Sienna starting to fight, and she pushes out the demon of Victoria, or it's the same demon, Victoria and Art are the same person, but she can speak. But she's like, "Oh, you were able to defeat me. Oh, you were only able to defeat me probably because Gabby's still here. Well, let's finish this off then." And has her hands around Gabby's head, and Gabby's like, "Wait, can I give her a present before that happens?" Meaning, I need to give Sienna her gift. And she's like, "Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, we'll give you a gift. What gift is it?" And it's the one Sienna put behind the tree. And she, it's like, "Yes, of course. Go ahead, open it." And she's given the package on her lap, and of course her hands are tied, so she can't do it. And Victoria says, "It's like, hey, why don't you open it? You're wasting time." And then Art comes over with a little hammer and starts bashing Sienna's hands. But now they're all messed up, and so now she can remove her hands from the rope. She's like, come on, what's taking so long? I'm getting antsy." And so she's opening the gift with bloody hands, and it's really hard for her. And while this is happening, Art is beating her with the hammer continuously. So she's able to get the box, and in it, now that her hands are free, is the sword. And so she's like, "Oh, this is the best gift I've ever had." Like, "Oh, that's nice." Takes the sword, stabs Art in the throat, or slices his throat. And he's like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And goes and attacks Victoria, and they all have this epic fight. And it's kind of a back and forth thing with Art and Victoria. Eventually, Victoria gets killed. If I miss details, I don't remember everything. So something you have to watch, but it's a really, really good scene, and it kind of explains why Art is doing this. He wants to possess her because he knows that she's the only one that can defeat him. So he is scared of Sienna and her power, and whatever happened with her dad creating that character, basically summoned him, and he's like, "I need to stop her, otherwise I can't do what I want to do," kind of thing. There was also Sienna has a flashback or something, or it's either her or Art, and they're talking about different saints and stuff like that, and how she's a warrior angel. And it goes to a scene where this guy is at a forge or something like that, and she's watching this demon hitting a piece of metal, making a sword, it looks like. And there's this woman with a mask on her, and this demon has a chain around his neck, so he's being forced to make a sword or something like that. And he sees Sienna in this vision, and he kind of growls at her, and snaps his teeth, and what I believe, I think that's Art's demon, the Art of Demons, the demon of Art, or whatever. And he was being controlled by some other angel who was just watching over him, like, "You can't move, I got you, you need to keep pounding away at this hammer." And so my theory is when that drawing was made, because it was made so similarly to that angel that was guarding this demon, perhaps when this drawing was made, and the dad and Sienna touched it, it re-summoned the angel into Sienna, or something like that, and the sword was made real, and it was like transported from that demon world to our world. I don't know. That's what do you think? What do you think, Jake?
That sounds.
Or sorry, Trooper.
That sounds about right. I'm a little confused on
Okay.
it as well. I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's not exactly clear.
it'll probably be explained a little better in the fourth one.
Yeah, because it definitely ends with there definitely being a fourth one, which is cool to see. You're like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a fourth one, sweet. But yeah, with that, it explains so much of the second one, which is really nice. It gives Art a motivation, like he's scared of this. It's the only way he can be free and to do evil things. And so they have this. Anyways, they have this epic battle back and forth, and Sienna's trying to get the sword, and she's finally able to stab Art through the chest, and she's continued, and she's mad. She's absolutely pissed at Art, for killing her family and trying to kill Gabby and trying to kill her. And she's like, I need to stop you. Like this, she's becoming the angel that was, or the character her dad made. And it explains why the dad went mad and died, because he was seeing all these like weird different visions and drawing them, and it was the demon coming, being set free, and now he's free and he wants to stay free, basically. So him attacking Sienna means he's scared. I know I've said this a million times, but he's absolutely terrified of her. So they have the epic battle, and Victoria's blood starts to boil or something like that. Like her head is chopped off.
It turns into like acid.
Yeah, like a weird acid, and it's like it like melts through the floor, and of course Gabby is on it, and it's like a portal to hell. Basically, that's what it looks like, or another dimension or place or whatever. And while Sienna is stabbing Art starts to smile, and like he knows, like, oh, are you gonna save your cousin? Are you gonna finish me off? And he knows that she's gonna go try to save her cousin. And then she pulls out the sword and runs towards her cousin to try to get her out, because she's barely hanging on. And she's like, hey, grab my arm, but her arm's not long enough. And so this is the dumbest thing ever, what she does. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
But it's a good kind of dumb, I guess. But she looks around for something to extend her reach, and she's like, oh, look, my sword. And she's like, grab the handle, what's her name? Granny? No.
Gabby,
thank you. I'm good with names. Anyways, Gabby, she tries to like grab the sword or whatever, and she's like, you need to try harder. And she grabs the handle with both hands, and Sienna, well, she's literally grabbing onto a bladed weapon. Like what are you thinking? Like how are you this dumb? How are you this dumb? And she's trying to grab on as hard as she can. Well, of course, it's cutting her hands, and the blood is making it slippery. So now Gabby falls into hell. However, she falls into hell with this magical sword. And she's like, no, Gabby, blah, blah, blah. And so, hell seals up, and Sienna's looking at her hands. She looks over to where Art was, and there's a window open, and Art is gone. She looks at her hands, and her hands heal up. How? We don't know. This is weird. But this is what we're seeing. Her hands heal up. Art is gone. And that's when the movie kind of ends. But it ends with Art getting on a bus, and he looks depressed. He barely made it out. He lost his counterpart. And he gets on a bus with a woman reading the Ninth Circle. And Jake, take it away.
Which is a big, huge reference to where Art the Clown originally originated from, because he was first shown in a short film called The Ninth Circle, which is about. I'll have to pull it up. I haven't seen it. I just know I've done the research. It's on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
About a woman being abducted by a sinister stranger on Halloween night for a fate worse than death. If I remember right, here's a picture of that version of Art the Clown. It is the woman has to go through all the different um, stages of hell to get out or something like that. Like I said, I haven't seen it myself. Maybe we can watch it sooner or later.
Yeah.
And that is also a possible reference to a future timeline, or the fourth movie of Sienna going into hell and having to traverse the 9 circles to try to get Gabby back.
Or maybe Gabby has to traverse the 9 circles to try to get out of hell. I mean, she can possibly do it with the sword, right?
Yeah.
So either one is definitely possible, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the review. Sorry it took so long. Holy crap, we were talking for so long.
This movie had a lot to it.
We're still working on like a rhythm, and we're still trying to cut down on like details to make it go quicker and be more entertaining. And reducing our ums. That's what I do a lot. But it's a thinking reaction. When you're thinking, you get ums. So I figured talking about the different scenes. First is felt more. What's the word? Felt more not necessary, but It felt right doing them first rather than trying to be all chronological and trying to get it perfect. It's just OCD. That's all it is.
I think, it's kind of hard to do with regular movies, like non-horror movies. That way.
Yeah, movies it would be different, but this one, with all its scenes known for its goriness and stuff like that.
Also, just like a regular horror movie, this format might work as well. Like a regular slasher film, just get all the kills done first, and then.
Yeah. Well, and what we can do also is look at other people doing reviews and see how what their style is, like what they talk about, how, and see how long their videos are,
Yep.
Because this was over an hour, hour and 20 minutes, and are people gonna watch us talk about it for an hour and 20 minutes?
Correct.
I honestly don't think so. They may watch it for a little bit, but if we're not, entertaining, they're not going to watch it. They're not going to stick around. They might click on it, but they won't stick around. And that's the key to getting like more viewers and and stuff. So it's on us basically. That's
I
how that works.
I have a suggestion. I'll say after for you to just watch for ideas because I watch them weekly. Or I can say air 3C films. I know I've shown you some of his videos, but he usually does it within like 28 minutes with movie
Yeah.
reviews. He's a good example.
Yeah, it's just homework to try to cut down on all the minute details that, you know, if you have OCD and you've seen the movie and you're like, oh yeah, what about this? Oh, what about this little too? What about this little thing? If you're just because the majority of people are just gonna be casual watchers.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, what's this? What's this about? Is it entertaining? Blah blah blah. If you go into too much detail, people get turned off by that, and they're just like, they're thinking to themselves, hey, get to the point, get to the point, get to the meat of it. And if we get to a point where people suggest to us, hey, go into more detail about it, then we can do that for sure. But it's just trying to get a base of viewers interested in, you know, communing with us, as opposed to us just being like, hey, look, I saw this movie. Let's talk about this one scene for 20 minutes. That's not relevant to the plot of the movie. And it's just too much detail can be an overload for people. I'm just talking about it from my experience. When I'm watching something, I'm like, hey, you put up a video. I want to be entertained. how do you capture someone and make them interested in what you're saying, kind of a thing. So it's also communication part too, or communication thing.
Before you go on a more of a rant, let's finish it up because it's so I can end it at before the 1:30 mark.
Oh yeah, okay, we're done.
That was our review. Please give us your opinions on how we should format it differently. This weekend, or join us Thursday for our first half of review of the Skypiea arc on One Piece. We will do it probably about 10 o'clock. Join us Sunday for our review of Mike's Choice, or Ski Nerd's Choice.
What am I gonna watch? I think I know.
End of the
It's really messed up.
End of the month, I have an idea of what we can watch. We can do one final Halloween movie. It'll be a few days after Halloween. That's just because we normally review on during the weekend. But we can do the original movie that Art the Clown started out in, All Hallows Eve, not the short film. He was in an actual like full length film before Terrifier.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Let's end it.
Join us Thursday and Sunday, and whenever we go live next week.